fire potential briefing for Monday, July 20th, 2020. Fire potential impacts for the next few days are shown here. The main impact we have starting really today going through the bulk of the work week is a significant increase in thunderstorm activity and even some precipitation coming to mainly Utah by the middle of the week. So for today, we're looking for some increased gusty winds there over southern Idaho and up into northeast Utah, and an increase in thunderstorm activity across the southern Great Basin. We're already seeing some thunderstorms early this morning around Las Vegas. For tomorrow, we see a pretty significant spread of an increase in spread further north of thunderstorm activity into central and northern Nevada, with a better chance for dry thunderstorms on the periphery as the thunderstorms transition to a mix of wet and dry further south. And then on Wednesday, we'll see those thunderstorms move further north, even up into southern and western Idaho. Also on Wednesday, the thunderstorms over central and eastern Utah will transition from a mix of wet and dry to wet thunderstorms there. So we'll see these storms transition from a wetter to a drier or from a drier to a wetter type thunderstorm with increasing coverage across much of the Great Basin by midweek. The past 24 hours weather is shown here, just some very isolated thunderstorm activity there over central Nevada and then over northeast Utah. Where we're seeing those purples, that's thunderstorm, or those are lightning strikes from yesterday. Here across southern Nevada, these oranges and reds are thunderstorms from this morning. So we're already seeing those thunderstorms developing, and so far they are on the drier side. Recent Great Basin fire activity is shown here with the last 24 hours new fires in red. We have seen quite a bit of increased activity over the past 24 hours, particularly over eastern Nevada and western Utah with some larger fires, a larger one here in southern Nevada and then in northeast Nevada, as well as west central Utah. So many of these are grass and sagebrush type fires that are spreading quickly through our very dry fuels. Precipitation for the past 7 days and 30 days is shown here. The past 7 days have been quite dry, especially across the north and Nevada and northern Utah, with just some very light precipitation really over central and eastern Utah over the past week. And the past 30 days continues to show that longer term dryness over Nevada, western Utah, and even up into northeast Utah. So definitely some primed fuels for some larger fires in those areas. ERCs are still very high for much of Utah and eastern Nevada and southern Nevada. Even western Nevada, some of those stations are starting to come up. A couple of sites here in the central area with ERCs above the 97th percentile. ERC charts for a couple of zones in eastern Nevada are showing those values above or near the 97th percentile and right at historical records for the time of year. Further south, over southeast Nevada, those values are above normal for the time of year, over the 97th percentile, and are actually setting records, historical records right now with the delayed monsoon. As we see moisture move in later this week, those values will probably come down a bit, but for now, setting new records there. Live fuel moistures are shown here for a couple of sites in eastern Nevada as well. Over northeast Nevada, we can see those values have been much below normal all season, setting new historical records through much of the late spring and through the summer, and still setting low records for the past few years there. And further south, in southeast Nevada here, those values have been right near the historical records and are currently right at the historical records for the past 30, 40 years. So pretty significant dryness in the sagebrush over much of eastern Nevada and western Utah. Okay, so for this morning satellite imagery here, we're seeing some of that moisture coming up from the southwest with the high pressure ridge in place there. As we progress over the next couple of days, we'll see this little low off the California coast start to move inland, and this will help enhance some of that thunderstorm development and bring moisture further north into the Great Basin. So what's starting down south, we'll see move further north over the next couple of days. So for today, we have issued high risk for much of southern Nevada and southwest Utah for that increase in thunderstorm activity. Those thunderstorms will definitely be on the dry side for much of the area, and especially earlier in the day as those thunderstorms move further northward. Wind speeds are generally light for the most part, especially across Utah and southern Nevada. We do have some slightly increased winds over the southern Snake River Plain and into northern and northeast Utah. We didn't issue any high risk there, but slightly elevated, maybe gusts up to 25-30 miles an hour there. Where you see these maroon circle areas, that's where we can expect strong outflows from thunderstorms that develop in those areas. And the forecast from the Weather Service shown here is highlighting the areas where those thunderstorms are expected to be by this afternoon. Tomorrow, Tuesday, more moisture moves further northward into the Great Basin. We're highlighting thunderstorms across northern Nevada and into west central Utah on Tuesday, as we can see those isolated, generally dry thunderstorms spreading further northward there. Further south, the thunderstorms may be a mix of wet and dry. So for the winds, they're lightening up across the north, but we'll see gusty winds associated with outflows from those thunderstorms that develop mainly central Nevada and into southwest Utah. And the Weather Service shown here where they're expecting those thunderstorms to be occurring by tomorrow afternoon. Finally, by Wednesday, that low pressure moves into Northern California and continues to draw moisture up into Idaho. There is also another trough off the Pacific Northwest coast, which will help to enhance thunderstorm development there as well and pull that moisture further northward. So we do have high risk issued for southwest Idaho on Wednesday. We haven't seen much thunderstorm activity there recently, but those thunderstorms will be moving into that area on Wednesday and will be on the drier side there. Also on Wednesday, thunderstorms will move into central and eastern Utah, and they will have more moisture associated with them, and so we're actually decreasing the dryness level there from brown to yellow, as those thunderstorms will likely produce some precipitation and certainly bring relative humidity up in those areas. So for Wednesday, looking at the winds, we'll see winds increase a bit across southern Nevada ahead of that low into northern California, but then also all these maroon wind speeds here are outflows from those thunderstorms as they move further north into northern Nevada and up into southwest Idaho on Wednesday. So we're expecting thunderstorms possible across a large portion of the Great Basin on Wednesday, but the high-risk triggers are issued for western Idaho, as we expect them to be drier in that area, with wetter storms over central and eastern Utah, and some isolated mixed wet and dry thunderstorms over Nevada lingering on Wednesday. The 3-day precipitation totals shown here, really showing the best chance for some measurable precipitation coming to the higher elevations of central and eastern Utah, possibly up into western Wyoming, the central Idaho mountains, and then possibly along the Sierra front as well. Some of those storms may generate a little bit more precipitation. So over the next couple of days, some of those thunderstorms will transition to a wetter variety, but will likely all start on the drier side. By Thursday, we're still seeing some moisture hanging around, so expect to see a continuation of some wetter thunderstorms over central and eastern Utah, with some of those zones even turning to green and decreasing large fire potential there. Drier air pretty much remains in place over Nevada, especially across the southern half of the state, and we could see some lingering thunderstorms up north on Thursday as that trough pulls to the north. On Friday, continuation of some drier air moving into Nevada, and we'll see some dryness return to Idaho and northern Utah as well. Most of the moisture will begin to move off to the east beginning Friday through the weekend, and so we'll see that decreasing thunderstorm activity. On Saturday, a continuation of generally dry conditions across Nevada, with the trough there north over the Pacific Northwest. We could still see some thunderstorm activity over the central Idaho mountains, but a general decrease in thunderstorm activity continuing mainly Nevada and Utah. That dryness continues into Sunday, especially over Nevada, with decreasing thunderstorms over the north as well. And over Utah, we'll start to see some moisture moving back into far southeast Utah on Sunday and into the first part of next week. 7-day precip totals are shown here, increasing a little bit over the 3-day totals, but still in the same general areas, mainly the higher elevations of central and eastern Utah, Idaho, and then right there along the Sierra front. The extended forecast from the Climate Prediction Center for the end of July into the very 1st of August is calling for above normal temperatures over the northern 2/3 of the area, and a return to below normal chances for precipitation over much of the Great Basin, especially Utah. So it looks like maybe this moisture we're seeing now is going to be somewhat short-lived. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.